Have you seen the staking out your gat for the Rizzler? You're my skibbity.
Oh.
Have you not seen this?
No, that's terrible.
It's awesome. It's it's like a TikTok sound, but it's a child. It's like a child, like, I don't know, probably 10 years old, going, staking out your cat for the Rizzler. Be my skibbit. You're so skibbity.
And so they just have that on TikTok.
Be my Sigma.
That's just getting remixed all over TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
then?
People love it.
Beautiful.
People love sticking out your gat for the Rizzler. Wait, quick question. If you had to guess what a yacht is.
A yacht as in...
Yacht.
Yacht? I think it's a gat, but
No,
mispronounced.
No. It's not. It's a G-Y-A-T-T.
Yacht.
Yeah.
Sounds like git.
Sticking out your yacht for the Rizzler.
Dude, what is it? I no idea, dude.
You're so skibbity. It is your butt.
Ah.
It's a badonkadonk. Your yacht.
Well, so is the Rizzler like the personification of the Riz?
It's the
like,
rizziest guy alive. He's the Rizzler.
Okay, yeah. I was just going to say it's like the
like
Riddler.
the Joker.
Yeah.
Not the Riddler, the Joker.
Mm.
Because he doesn't care. He's full of chaos. Our man, the Rizzler, he doesn't use his abilities for, elaborate riddles. He uses them to sow seeds of discord.
Oh, yeah. A nation cannot stand that does not, focus on preventing the Rizzler from controlling it,
What if there was a guy who every once in a while would come on TV and be like, I will once again rizz up the biddies if you don't send me $100 million.
Dude, we would be in a state of constant terror. I'd be worried for our biddies at all times that the Rizzler could strike any day.
Strike any day.
And then I'd be afraid because, you get a president in the office who would be like, we do not negotiate with the Rizzler. And then, more and more strikes would happen.
And then the first lady would get rizzed up.
Oh, no.
And then he would be like, okay, I'm open to negotiations.
Exactly, yeah. When it hits close to home, specifically the house, specifically the White House.
So I don't really spend time on TikTok. I don't have an account or anything, but I heard about this and I looked up on TikTok. I wanted to see some of the videos that people would make with this sound.
Mm-hmm.
And something I didn't know that exists on TikTok is people just half-assing, crazy half-assing, and like still kind of getting likes and numbers. Where I saw one where it was like the first half of the sound. So it was literally just the sticking out your gat for the Rizzler. You're so skibbity. Which is, I
know on its face.
You're so skibbity. Come on now. But it was just like this girl just sitting in a room. Not even though she was on her porch and she was just looking at the camera and she like lip synced it half-assed. Like if somebody somebody just like jumped you and said, lip sync to this, and you hadn't even heard it before. And they were just like, just hundreds of thousands of likes, and you're like, what? And it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, it's obvious, this is just a hot chick. Hot chicks always get content. She was a fine looking woman, but she was not like trying to be hot.
Yeah, she wasn't like TikTok hot.
She was not TikTok hot. She was just sitting on her porch, and she just half-assed her way through it. It wasn't even bad enough to be funny. I don't know.
Well, let's just say that biddy has got the Rizzler coming. You gotta watch out. Okay, so let's talk about things we're into right now. Okay, thing that has gotten me.
Hit me. What is it?
So there's these videos out right now that I saw one of them like 6.5 months ago, and there wasn't any content like it. And it was just one video, and I was like, oh, I wish there was more of this content. And today I rediscovered it, and it's people that make a 1-for-1, well, not 1-for-1 scale, but like a 1/4 scale of the Earth in like Minecraft. Yeah. And they put 1,000 people onto the planet and just let it organically turn into nation states. Right.
Yes,
and like it grows
the highly produced.
Yeah, where it's like you get to watch like how many weeks of time it took for them to play through it all and build up the civilizations and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it's goofy and fun because, it's world politics through the lens of Minecraft, right? That's interesting. But the other thing is that they're like increasing the level of the simulation to the point where Like, and this most recent one I saw, like each region had its own tradable resource, and it's like in order to do certain things, you had to trade with different regions to get different resources. And so like the complexity is getting to the point where you need real administrative skills to be a leader in a Minecraft nation.
Yeah.
And sort of watching those arcs and the wars happen. It's like I'm watching history unfold, but
Any
in like
particularly interesting anecdotes.
Yeah, my favorite is this most recent one I watched. The nation that was the most powerful was Carthage. Carthage had grown into a huge, like the Library of Alexandria was built in Carthage. They had all these enormous mosques and stuff like that, and people would flock there to trade. But the United States was comparatively weak. It was a very small nation, and they had one McDonald's, and it was like a mecca that people would journey to. And there was one guy at the McDonald's who was like, I am the McDonald's man, right? Like he created his whole personality around McDonald's. And so as time goes on, natural disasters, all these different things happen, and America still stands very small, and nukes are then introduced into the game, right? So nukes are introduced, and how nukes work are everybody has to trade resources. You have to have 3 of separate resources to put it together, yada, yada, yada. Doesn't matter. Basically, it requires cooperation or theft of other people's resources to put it together. The UN gets together. They say, hey, everybody, let's all meet. They built this enormous tower just to have a meeting of all nations. All the empires came together. There were so many bombings that were happening and assassination attempts on world leaders that they had a fully secure perimeter. They had people on the roof to prevent people from flying over and dropping down into the meeting, and they decided if anybody ever sets out a nuke, everybody else mutually declares war on that individual, right? So
is it permadeath?
It is permadeath.
Okay.
New people can come in, but once you're killed, you cannot go back into it, right? So when a national leader dies, they're gone for good, right? Like you can't bring them back into the nation, which I think is perfect, right? So assassination actually means something. So when you watch a diplomatic meeting where they're like, hey, can we go talk over here real fast? So they just like freaking take them out, and the nation crumbles, and it's like, and that is when the European Empire went through 100 years of turmoil. You're like, yes.
What YouTuber is this?
I'd have to look up.
Come on,
I know.
You're getting so much free content.
I know. I'm taking the content out, but I'll look up after I finish the anecdote. But
okay.
The nukes are introduced. America is invaded by China. China's on this enormous rampage. It's taking everybody out, and they are basically pushed underground underneath the Capitol. And in the basement, underneath the Capitol of the United States, the McDonald's man is alive. He's there with the president. There's about 10 people down there, and there's also a person in the background who is singing the Star Spangled Banner. And the McDonald's guy was like, we cannot let the Chinese occupy our territory. The freedom of America must survive. And so he runs out alone. He goes out alone.
Yeah.
The rest of the country is like, this man's crazy, but they are inspired to the point where they run out and they attempt to take back the land.
Yeah.
They end up pushing away the enemy, but America is lost, right? It's all in flames. The president's in the Capitol building, and he says, I would rather not live in an America that is not free. An unfree America should not exist. So he decides to nuclear strike the capital of America.
On himself?
On himself. So nobody knows this except for him. So America explodes. The rest of the world hears that America has been nuked and decides that means that nuclear war has started. And so the entire world is destroyed in a nuke blast, and just thousands of people are dying. There's fire everywhere. There was a group of people that had figured out how to build spaceships to go to the moon, and so they were on the moon and they had all evacuated, and then somebody sent a nuke to the moon and blew the moon in half. So it was just beautiful because it was so fun to see like this decision, like this really fun thematic decision of like, I will take America with me because America is no longer free, nuking it, and just causes this tidal wave effect, like diplomatically, right? It wasn't organized, just organically sort of happened.
That's funny because it's sort of like how mock UN always goes out of control, or similar situations, because the people who are on these sort of servers are nerds who care about that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so there's like a self-selecting action that makes it so crazy stuff happens, because you have people who are like, man, wouldn't it be wild if, and those are the people who are in charge. It's not like an actual simulation of real life.
No,
because in real life people have stakes, and people are,
if they die, they're dead.
They're dead, and then like there's such a thing as caring about war crimes and all of that. Here it's like, no, it's all, we're just objectively having a good time.
The creator's magic gum, one word, if you're interested.
Magic gum.
Yeah, you should. It's really good.
Like Magic Beamish.
I just gave away the ending of it, but it was awesome. So I've been into that.
Was it super annoying when it was like, we took 100,000 guys?
His voice wasn't too much. Yeah. That's the one. Yeah. It wasn't too much. I'm always nervous when it comes to that kind of thing, because Minecraft creators often are like just straight up annoying. I've been watching. I'm back into Minecraft recently. That's a new thing that I'm into at the moment.
Yeah,
I was watching this one guy.
You and the Gen Z.
Yeah. Minecraft, it's evergreen. It's constantly in the ethos. Sorry, the zeitgeist.
If anybody wants to know our creds, I mean, we played when we were in 7th grade, when it was still in
beta,
like
alpha. Yeah, it was way back then. What's the word I'm looking for? There's this creator I watch who does Skibbity, Riz, the Rizzler. I watch this guy called the Rizzler. So basically he does like stuff where he's on permadeath and he builds these amazing structures and all this stuff. But he is like a really relaxed voice. He's young, it's higher, but like he's not in your face the whole time. His delivery is more relaxed, and I feel like that's the kind of content I'm looking for to like watch a significant amount of content in. Like, I can't sit down and watch children's content for hours when it's just so loud and in your face. It's just too aggressive for my sensibilities.
Is it
Blue Nerd? I don't think it's Blue Nerd. Yeah, he's got a guy too.
Everybody's watching Minecraft YouTube.
He talked about it, and then it came up in my algorithm, and I was like, oh, I'll give this.
It's gonna come up in my freaking
I know
algorithm.
you're toast, man.
You hear that, phone. Alexa? Yeah, I know. No, that's fun.
And I think that's something that I've always like. What's the word I'm looking for? Fetishize is not the correct word.
I think it is.
It might be. The idea of putting together a thing with like 200 people to try to simulate like politics or community.
Yeah,
right?
like a mega game.
Yeah. I would love the idea of a mega game. For that, you need to either have a very large community or like a bunch of friends that can make that happen. Like even games like Barotrauma, where it's you only need 10 people to play online simultaneously. Like even
that's already insane.
That's already really hard to execute on, right? So like the idea of like, oh yeah, we've got 100 people on the server at once, and we're doing the whole thing.
I wonder if there's any
Arma is another good example. I'd love to play Arma. Like simulate like modern combat. In that way. I mean, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, you need like 50, 60 people for that.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
Well, have you thought about? I feel like there's probably mega games that only take 20 people to play.
I mean, you're probably right. I mean, I don't. It's just. So us, right? We like to do things to their scale.
Yes.
Right? Like we like to have the idea of the server being full. And it's like, oh, and so, if we're going to play a board game, it's like we want it to have max number of players as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
Or ideal number. And so we always, I think, try to scale up too high, and that's sort of like Icarus. We fly too close to the sun when we try to put something like that together.
Yeah.
And so when you say like, oh yeah, I mean, there's stuff with 20 people, I'm like, yeah, but it would be really cool if we had 100 people. That'd be really cool.
The problem with this, Dylan, is that personality-wise, you think that, but then also you're one of the most socially prohibitive people I've ever met.
What's the definition of socially prohibitive?
Maybe I'm using the wrong word. But
frickin' enlighten me, brother.
The idea, like the thought in your brain of sitting down and playing with, say, 50 people who you don't know, it terrifies you.
No,
I know this about you.
Yeah, I mean,
you love the idea of there being 200 people playing the same game, but you're like, but I gotta hang out with people who might be different than me.
Okay, listen. First off,
that's Christoph to you. Christoph Waltz.
Chris, can I call you Chris?
Christoph.
Chrissy. Hey, Chrissy. So, Chris Meister, I've gone through more situations because I went to a wargaming convention.
Yeah.
You know, like I guess it was probably 6 or 7 months ago, where I've sort of been forced into larger groups of people to play games, and I was like, okay, I think I can do this. But in my like fantasy, this group of people that I'm playing the game with are all people I know personally.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
exactly.
all of my friends, in which I don't even think number 50, getting together.
All of my 500 friends.
Yeah.
I bet you if you tried right now, you couldn't even name 500 human beings.
I think I could name 500 people.
I don't think so.
Think,
I literally don't think you have. I don't think you have
right.
500 proper noun names
in my
sitting
head.
in your brain.
You're
People
probably
who are alive.
right.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I mean, I'll probably have close to like 150, maybe 200.
Yeah.
I would say.
Josh is over there thinking, "Oh yeah, you could easily do 500." No way in hell.
Yeah,
you think so?
All right, we'll test it out on the Patreon. Let's see if you can list 500 people.
All right, so the entire cast of Cheers,
He just memorizes every name on the Marvel credits.
Yeah. Exactly.
Go by.
Shisha Huiha.
Oh, goodness. Now, that reminds me, there's, with older Japanese titles, like old Japanese video games, right, for like the NES and stuff, you weren't allowed as a programmer to put your real name down because they were nervous that other companies would try to poach that particular creator. So if you put down like head of programming in your name, they'd fear that another company would come in and say you did a really good job on that game.
Man, Dragon Quest 3 rocks.
Yeah, exactly. And so they were like, Dragon Quest 3 rocks. We'd love you to come onto our team. And so they usually would put fake names or pun related names, and sometimes it's like puns in English, like long time or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's actually a fun, entertaining thing to read the names at the end of a video game. So from that era. So fun little fact.
Well, next time I finish Chrono Trigger, actually, they'd probably stop that by the time Chrono Trigger came out.
I imagine. Yeah.
Next time I finish Dig Dug.
I don't even know there's end credits in Dig Dug.
They have to. There has to be an ending somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. True. The speed run's got some sort of parameter in it. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, dang it. Anyway, what's going on with you? What's happening?
Not much. I feel like I sort of exhausted my memitudes and my foci on the Patreon episode last week when
you did go hard.
I discussed for a very long portion. I discoursed on the vampire.
Yeah.
I have yet to. Well, so specifically, right now my wife and I are doing Vampire-tober, where we are watching nothing but vampire-related content. Josh is
You're saying doing Vampire-tober like it is a well-known thing.
Yes. The challenge that everybody's into.
Vampire-tober.
No, yeah, we're doing Vampire-tober. It's like sober October, except for, we're drinking blood. There's actually a really famous line from one of the first vampire movies. I think it was Boris Karloff, who goes, "I don't drink wine." But yeah, so we are watching a whole bunch of vampire content, which the whole point of my last of the Patreon last week, which I suggest that you listen to, was on the interview with the Vampire TV show on AMC that Beck and I watched the first couple of episodes for, which was very funny. But yeah, tonight I think we're continuing. So far we have watched Twilight, Blade, and Interview with the Vampire. I believe we are going to be watching New Moon
nice
tonight, if we get around to it. And yeah, it's I've really enjoyed having a focus. You know what I mean? Because now we're starting to look into things that we can watch, stuff we can do, stuff we can lean into. But hopefully, I don't know. I'm having a really busy October. I'm hoping I can get together a vampire costume in the time for Halloween to roll around.
Yes, for the Halloween app.
Although for a vampire, it's tough because it's one of those. I feel like having a beard sort of disqualifies you
Yeah.
from dressing up as one.
Yeah, vampire. I mean,
Although there's like the guys in What We Do in the Shadows they have beards.
yeah, true. Like Vlad
But-
the Impaler has a beard classically.
Yes.
Right, and
so
is classically the inspiration. But
in my mind, the
a
classic,
Dracul does not have
a Dracula.
Yes.
It's a damn Dracula. If you see the damn Dracula walk around, he's clean shaven because he's supposed to be a stand-in for, European nobility. So he's all white-skinned and clean-shaven. So I guess I could put some, white powder on my face. But the thing is with the beard, it just doesn't work as well. I don't know.
I mean, what this sounds like is you have to shave your beard you gotta.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
You gotta dye your hair black and shave your beard.
Not doing that. Just gonna say, not doing that. I mean, it's probably just gonna be equivalent in quality to Luke's last year.
Because he was a vampire.
He was a vampire on the Spooktacular, and mostly he just looked hungover. Which I'm pretty sure he was.
Well, I guarantee.
What was DJ dressed up as? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, jeez. He wasn't the cow. No.
No.
Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy was the one who was a cowboy.
Yeah.
And we played Russian roulette
With the pistols.
Yeah.
You gotta. Look it up.
Yeah.
Jamie, look it up. So we have to tantalize people more on regards to that Patreon episode, because the core, I think thrust is a good word for it. The core thrust of the argument
Yes.
was that you don't believe that vampires should be having sex in vampire fiction.
I don't think that vampires should have sex, no.
Mm-hmm.
And not because there shouldn't be more of them. It's fine if they want to make more of them. But I believe that the act of feeding is sex enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's sexual enough. It's redundant, frankly. What the hell was that supposed to be? We're looking at
It's supposed to be a vampire hunter?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, freaking give him a call. We'll ask him.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not explain it any further.
Yes.
Because we go in and ad nauseum about it.
If you want to hear a dissertation on whether or not vampires should have sex, feel free to check out the Patreon episode for last week.
Yeah. Not to say that he believes that they should be abstinent.
No.
Yeah, they should, for moral reasons. But.
No, I always feel like it's an annoying cop-out when vampires are like, I eat animals and only animals.
Mm.
Which I guess they technically can do in multiple types of fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And almost all fiction, they can also eat animals. But that's always the worst. That's the libbest point. The most lib vampires. They eat rats and stuff.
It's disgusting.
There is a section in an Interview with the Vampire where he goes off of human
Blood, no.
and he eats rats and a cat at one point.
Mm.
But he pays a rat catcher and he shows up and he goes out back and just
Sucks the rat dry.
sucks that rat dry, dude.
Jeez Louise. There's a direction to go with that.
Okay.
I ain't gonna take.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. All right, guys. Well, first, I think this is a good time as any to say, if you guys are interested in supporting the show, please like and subscribe. We really appreciate that. Helps us with the algorithm and all that jazz. And in addition, we got a Patreon. It's Patreon.com/Monomaniacs pod. Great place to get the Patreon exclusive episodes and look at over 70 hours worth of content at this point. I mean, for $5, I mean, technically on the internet everything's free wherever you know where to look. But for $5, you don't even have to risk a virus on your computer for 70 hours of content.
That's true.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Speaking of risking viruses, I have been watching sports and. Let me tell you. So I have not actually been able to successfully illegally watch sports. I'm going to be frank.
You've tried though.
I have tried to successfully illegally watch sports. I've not been able to. But so I'm into hockey. I've been paying attention to hockey this year, and I know that you guys made fun of me like a month ago for saying I was going to watch hockey. I've been watching hockey. I've been paying attention to hocky. I have opinions about hockey now. About the
everybody
Coyotes.
wants to hear him, Shad. Everybody wants to know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because everybody, because your discourse on Minecraft YouTube was so great.
Whatever, dude.
But so I don't know if you know much about this. I doubt you do. Josh would probably be worth talking to about this in respect. But watching sports has gotten worse and worse. as the years have gone on, unless you're watching like NFL football. NFL football is fairly easy to watch. There's good centers for it, you know what I mean, like YouTube and etc., or you can get most games, right? But literally every other sport is impossible to watch. And part of it is, I was reading this article in the Wall Street Journal about it. It was called Watching Sports Has Become a Sport of Its Own. Part of it is that the streaming services, all attempting to become home for sports, are kind of piecemeal acquiring different broadcast rights.
Yeah.
But there's also time-honored traditions in localities for local broadcast rights.
Yeah.
So, it's becoming harder and harder to find a specific streaming service
For a specific game.
or a specific game because, like, a good example is baseball. And most people who watch baseball don't watch all baseball. But for the people who watch all baseball, it's insurmountable to do so. Because imagine you're a Mets fan, right? You want to watch the Mets. Well, if the Mets are playing in Citi Field, SITI, they're at Citi Field, right? I think that's their, I don't know, I think it's their field, as in Citibank. So they're at Citi Field, they're playing. Okay, well, if they're playing in Citi Field, then maybe your local cable package, or they'll have a broadcast on antenna or something, and you can watch broadcast antenna. But if they're somewhere else, maybe it'll be one of the games that that Max has. Maybe it'll be one of the games that ESPN Plus has. Maybe it's one of the games that is on no streaming services because that particular team that they're playing at has a very, very restrictive broadcast deal with their local broadcasting company, right? And then, sorry, you can't watch it. And so what people have had to do, and this changes mid-season all the time, like rights are going all over the place. What people have to do is sit down and decide with a spreadsheet, like, okay, I know that I can watch these games with this service, and then decide which services they want to pay for which month.
Yeah.
So there's people who activate and deactivate streaming accounts every single month depending on when games are going to be played in certain localities, right?
Yeah.
And the wild thing is they don't do this anymore. ESPN Plus sort of has taken over as the, quote unquote way to stream all games, even though it's not. You can't stream. You barely get to stream games with it, but. They used to do this thing where you could do a league streaming service. So,
which sounds like a really good option.
Yeah. So you used to be able to do like NFL Plus or NHL Plus or MLB Plus, and you would usually be able to watch most games that were out of your market. Because the funny thing about it, the wildest thing about it, is that watching the sport you want to watch means you're most likely going to want to watch your team. Well, you can't stream your own team because they have a local deal with local broadcasters, so you're unable to stream your own team. So if you don't have an antenna or you're using a smart TV or whatnot, again, literally impossible. You cannot watch the team you want to watch. And so there's this added element, too, where there's nowhere, like, it's all live. It all has to be live.
Yeah.
So you can't, unless you have
watch
TiVo,
a recording
you can't watch a recording of a game. And that makes sense because I've gone back to try and learn more about hockey. I've watched recorded games, and it is literally, it's like eating a burger and then like biting into it, and it's made of crackers. It's like, oh, there's nothing, there's no meat to this. It makes sense. Sports are supposed to be live. Like unless you're a turbo nerd, there's no reason to watch recorded sports.
Yeah. The two things. One, I remember hearing about a guy who, and I forget if somebody I know personally or I heard on a podcast, which is a terrible way to approach life, who was watching every major league World Series game from the beginning of the World Series to modern day, right?
Wow.
Which is crazy. That is an amazing feat. But having been at my father-in-law's place when they're playing rerun college football games, on the off season, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
That's a rough one to get excited about.
Yeah.
Especially because they like cut it down, so it's just like it's like just play after play after play. So it's like there's no drama, there's no waiting, there's no anticipation. It's just like play, go for it.
Yeah. And the only market in America that I think does sports broadcasting properly, or at least, gives fans what they should get, is the Phoenix, the Suns, the basketball team. The Phoenix Suns stream every game as long as you're in Arizona for free. And so if you're outside of Arizona, you can't, you have to have, like, you could use a VPN, I guess, and still watch the games for free. But yeah, I mean, in my mind, the money around sports, especially for second tier, third tier, fourth tier teams, it's not really in eyes on games. You know what I mean? Because comparatively, unless you're the NFL and maybe Major League Baseball during the playoffs, and then basketball, which is getting increasingly popular. But if you're like hockey, is a good example of this, or if you're the Phoenix Suns, which nobody cares about, right? Making it as easy as humanly possible for people to watch your games, and by extension, go to your games or pay for your merchandise or et cetera. That's where you make real cash.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because in order to watch, a good example is my team this year, the team that I like and have liked for many years in the NHL, but I'm really following this year because it's going to be a good year for them. I'll tell you that much. They won their season opener, and it was a great game. It's Phoenix Coyotes, the laughingstock of the NHL for many years. Since they started in like 1996, they've been the laughingstock. They made it to the playoffs once in like 2012. They may have made it beforehand, but the last time they made it was in 2012. Then they beat I think they beat the Blackhawks. No, they beat the Red Wings. They beat the Red Wings. Okay, whatever. In order to watch them, you literally have to use an antenna and be in Phoenix. And if they're traveling, maybe, right? But it has to be a game that you have the streaming service for.
Yeah.
So as somebody who's not even in the market, which means I should be able to stream them on demand, and I used to be able to, say, if I had NHL Plus or whatever back when that existed, now it depends on the week, it depends on when the game is. If I could, I have a Max subscription, so like maybe they play, they put like 4 games a week on Max.
Yeah.
Right. And then the games that are on Max are not on Hulu, and they're not on ESPN Plus. So it depends on if you have ESPN Plus or Hulu. I don't know. It's incomprehensible. And I get that it's supposed to, like, I feel like if anybody has cable anymore, or if anybody has an antenna, it's to watch sports.
Yeah.
Right. And that's sort of
generally what the philosophy
is. It's just like that's probably what's keeping those formats alive. So I imagine they're very defensive, and they're spending a lot of money trying to keep the format alive by trying to get sports. But it just makes it hard. It makes it nearly impossible to watch something. I almost kind of want to get an antenna now, so I could watch like Red Wings games. You know what I mean?
And it's not super expensive. It's not super cost prohibitive. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that's like a gap in the market that will eventually close, right? Like, because it is so anti-consumer and there is not a lot of money in it, right? Like, there's eventually the old guard will die and it will fix itself, right?
Yeah, I don't know, because it felt like they had moved in the right direction with doing with having like the plus services, like NHL Plus.
Well, then in your mind, why did those fail?
I imagine because people weren't signing up for them because they wanted to watch in-market games because they want to watch their team.
Yeah.
Right? And because they want to watch their team and they can stream your team specifically, nobody was signing up for it, The funny thing about it, too, is that, well, it's getting worse partially because of the NFL, because, with Amazon also having a game exclusively on, Fridays? They have a Friday night game. Thursday night? Okay, yeah, Thursday night, which you have to have Amazon to watch, and, it...
Although, you can watch it on Twitch.
You can watch it on Twitch? On Twitch streaming, okay.
Boomers don't know where that is, so they can't.
Yeah,
boomers can't find it.
Yeah.
And then what happens if you, donate bits or whatever?
It goes to Amazon.
Is there a hot tub stream in the bottom right corner of the broadcast? The whole time?
Top left there's somebody playing Subway Surfer.
Yeah.
You got ASMR goo videos on the top right.
Yeah.
Center stage, the NFL.
Yeah. What was up with that? Maybe we talk about this in the Patreon, but I want to hear the story behind the freaking Toy Story broadcasts that they're doing. Yeah, we could talk about that.
I haven't heard about this.
It's Toy Story football.
Oh, is it like the Nickelodeon football?
No, it's different. Yeah, it's like that though. But there's like everybody has like chips in their brain, in their helmets, and
their brain. Everybody's got chips in their brain.
Yeah, they have chips in their helmets, and they have to. It tracks their locations, and it's like a 3D animation that's of real time of them playing the game.
But everybody is
little toy versions
of themselves.
Yeah.
Whoa. Like that actually sounds like low-key boss, dude. That sounds super cool.
It could be a million times cooler. What it needs to be is like space.
In my head, this looks really cool.
Well, it doesn't. They're wasting the technology on Toy Story. What it needs to be is, sci-fi or fantasy, or like explosions, dragons, like it just needs to
get that AR stuff going on.
Yeah, it just needs crazy AR.
So speaking of, and I saw this video on Reddit, I think it was this morning, where it was
it Le Epic? Le Epic Reddit video?
Oh, dude, freaking it was my cake day. I went on Reddit, and everybody gave me Reddit gold, sir.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's for the MetaQuest headset 3. So there's a new MetaQuest headset selling like complete garbage, right? Because everybody's got the MetaQuest headset 2.
Prohibitively expensive.
Yeah, and it's just one price point too high. It's not. It'll be a couple of years before it does any amount of units. Regardless, its whole thing is augmented reality. Not necessarily. It's got more hardware for VR, but augmented reality. It's got 3 cameras on the front of it,
so you can walk around.
Well, so I watched this video today that like low key was like, whoa, okay, all right, where somebody had, because it's got finger tracking technology too, which is the future in my mind, because you don't have to hold a controller to do things like it can track your articulated hands. The MetaQuest headset 2 can do that, but it's not nearly as good. Anyway, this guy who wakes up for his morning coffee, he grabs his morning coffee, and he's got a floating screen where he's watching a Mr. Beast video. And he goes over and he grabs the screen, and he walks with it outside to his deck, and he holds it up, and he lets it go floating next to him. And so he's drinking his coffee, looking out over the view, and he's got his video of Mr. Beast on the left. First off, insane choice to have it be a Mr. Beast video.
Yeah.
That is insanity. But cool, awesome. You guys go. But the only thing I could think about was if I am in a VR headset for longer than 20 minutes, it starts to become uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? Like it starts to chafe, I start to sweat. It's not a comfortable thing to wear. So, I mean,
because you're shackled by your flesh.
Yeah.
You need to embrace the meta-humanity.
Exactly. I need to upload my consciousness into Mark Zuckerberg's servers, you know, and be able to look at his lifeless face as he floats around with his arms, and we have a virtual meeting.
Yeah. Like him and Lex Friedman or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Were they using the threes?
Yeah. They were using the threes, yeah. So
I mean, the tech looked impressive. The thing is, though, is that I can, we're already killing ourselves by staring at our phones.
Oh, dude.
Like, imagine if you wake up, the first thing you do is put that headset on, and then you use it so effectively, right? You're constantly moving things around with it. You're using it a part of your work schedule.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, I imagine it sort of be like the 2-monitor thing. The second I got 2 monitors, it's like, how did I ever survive with one?
Yeah.
I was stumbling in the dark for a majority of my young life.
Looking through a glass darkly.
Through a glass darkly. And now, though, that I can imagine that at some point you start working that into your routine and becomes the focus of your daily activity. But it's literally a blue light screen an inch away from your face.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, having been in a headset for a significant amount of time, your eyes start to hurt a lot faster. You get a headache a lot quicker because you're wearing headgear, right? Like it's not like headphones where it's just sort of compression on the side of your head. It's like back of the head, front of the head, all directions. You've got force on your head, and you've got those, right up against your face. I've gotten to the point where I've been trying to wear blue light glasses because I have to do this for work in the headset, which helps my eyes, but I get a headache like twice as fast.
Yeah.
It's just it's not good. So and so I can't imagine
They should just put blue light glasses.
in your
In the
eyes.
headset.
Oh, in the headset? Agreed.
Is there blue light contacts? Is that a thing yet?
That sounds really
Yeah.
based. Look it up. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where
What you're telling me right now is you could not pilot a mech.
well, dude, I would get headaches every day if I could freaking pilot a mech, dude.
If the Pacific Rim creatures are showing up and we need you in a Jaeger, it'd be like, his head hurts.
My eyes ache a little bit. I'm sorry. They got him?
Blue light contacts.
I wonder
Non-prescription blue light contacts. Put those in every day. I wonder if they've got like.
I think they're prescription.
I know they're prescription, but imagine, because you can get blue light non-prescription glasses. Imagine
what I
getting-
wear.
Yeah, just non-prescription
Every
blue light
morning,
contacts.
just putting those in.
Yeah. Or like, what if like the gunners, like the orange ones, that they advertise for gamers?
Yeah.
You just got the orange eyes, and you're like, all right, ready to game. Got your G Fuel.
So my Steam Deck has a setting on it where it goes into night mode,
Yeah.
where it adds the orange tint to it, right? Just like from the
yeah, your phone does that automatically.
yeah. And I'm like, that's pretty nice. It's a lot.
Night mode.
Yeah, going dog. Anyway, dang. Yeah, I don't.
Do
I
you
cannot
want-
imagine.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say I cannot imagine having my work day consist of me putting a headset on, especially because the way that the metaverse is pitched
Yeah.
is that it is a constant force, right? It's like my entertainment is through the metaverse, my socialization is through the metaverse, and my work is through the metaverse. Unless they have some way for it to be like in a pair of glasses. Right, like it's always going to be prohibitive from just a general practicality standpoint.
Yeah, they're trying to do the glasses thing again, aren't they?
I haven't heard anything about that. I bet they are. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the next step, I would say.
I heard that there's an attempt to bring glasses back,
Mhm.
and like Google Glass, it was only kind of a failure because everybody thought it was dumb and gay. You know what I mean? Where
And
it was less about the tech and more like, oh, you look like such an idiot.
Yeah,
In those Google Glasses, and I imagine now the tolerance would be a lot higher for something like that.
yeah, I think I would agree. Yeah, if people can frickin' float around on hoverboards and those one-wheel skateboards and be only mildly judged, I think
Dude,
people would accept.
The guys around here who do the one-wheel skateboard, it's so ridiculous. Those guys are like 35 years old.
Yeah.
Just like 35-year-old, and you're like, dude, do you have a job or something? I don't know. They're just,
It's 2:00 on a Thursday. You're out.
they
skating.
probably deliver pizzas or whatever, or tattoo artists. I don't know, but they're just
Wow,
zooming
you just
around.
made like some hardcore judgments against pizza deliverymen and tattoo artists.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? The guy who hangs out with 3 other 30-year-old dudes every day and does one-wheel skateboarding is like, has a real job?
Listen, we do this, and we both have real jobs. I mean,
This
people
is slightly more embarrassing.
exactly,
Yeah.
these guys might have real jobs and this is just what they do for fun,
Yeah. People do weirder stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People dress up in
People go to Margaritaville unironically.
on Tuesdays
Yeah.
at 1 p.m.
I wonder, I saw a picture of the bar in Key West or whatever when Jimmy Buffett died.
I was about to say, we haven't spoken on the death of Jimmy Buffett.
That's
we haven't
true.
given our opinion.
I know,
and
that
I know people are
are
clamoring for
sitting
it.
on the edge of their seats right now. I've been to Key West, just where I spent my honeymoon, so I think I understand him a little better than the average person.
You understand his Hemingway-esque persona.
We didn't actually go to Margaritaville. We considered it, but we did not go to Margaritaville in Key West.
All I'm saying is coward. Weak.
Coward.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, man. I would have really enjoyed my burger in paradise.
Mm.
But there was the bar wherever it was. I don't think that whoever he wrote Cheeseburger in Paradise about.
God, that bar.
Because the whole point of he tells a big story about how he was trying to find a good burger and he couldn't, and then he found one at some island and he was like, "Wow, this is great to have a cheeseburger in paradise." Luckily, his
Wait a second.
Wait a second,
Bill, give me my pen.
Yeah, you're gonna want to hear this. The funny thing about him is that both of his songs are coincidentally food related.
True. Yeah.
Margaritaville and Cheeseburger in Paradise. But
he's got a song called Boat Drinks. I mean,
yeah,
It's about consumption
It's
on
about
the beach.
It's about being a parrot head.
Yeah.
But the picture was just of a setting. You know how like when you were at a school assembly or at a like a veterans event, they would have a table set for the POWs and MIA.
Yeah.
Right, where it would have like salt because of our tears and a lemon because life is sour without them or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. The symbolism on that always felt a little like middle school to me. But
listen, brother, I'd say the teams aren't the kind of people you want to get into a fight with.
No. I'm not getting in a fight with the teams. Anyway, but like that, they had left out a cheeseburger and a margarita for Jimmy, for the dead Jimmy. And
ironically, though, I think that's kind of sweet.
I know. Well, I kind of was hoping though that every Margaritaville in America
had done the
same thing, and that potentially they are still doing it.
That would be
and
nice.
then I thought to myself how double funny it would be if you went up to said burger and you ate Jimmy Buffett's burger, and then when somebody said you can't do that, you say, "Whoa, man, I'm sorry, dude. I was just jonesing for a burger, dude." And they'd be like, "No, this guy reminds us of Jimmy Buffett."
his can-do, no-care attitude.
Exactly
the kind.
He's allowed to eat the cheeseburger
it's
in
like
paradise.
it's when they're trying to find the next Dalai Lama, right? It's like the person that selects the correct toy. Right?
Yes.
You ate his cheeseburger. You have assumed his position. You are the new Jimmy Buffett in
Jimmy
that moment.
Buffett. It's a generational title. You know, it's not a person.
Like Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah. It's a title, not a person. It's actually a curse. You know, whoever receives the mantle of Jimmy Buffett is anything but. You're brought before the council of parrots, and they're like, "Well, you are a slave. Go sell cheap food, Cisco food all over America, dressed up."
I have. Have you eaten at a Margaritaville?
No,
I have.
Okay, you have eaten at a Margaritaville.
I ate at a Margaritaville in an airport, and I had a margarita. My wife did as well. We had some nachos. Bill was like $50, of course, because we're in an airport and it's a Margaritaville. But margarita was okay. It was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My wife loves eating in airports, which is always
dude, I think it's awesome. It's freaking prohibitively expensive.
Yes, I enjoy it. I did it. I was on a business trip, and I was like, well, if they're paying for lunch, it's time to eat at an airport.
Yeah, dude. I also have on business trips eaten. I always get a drink, and I don't make them pay for the drink, but I always make them pay for the food that I get at the airport.
Yeah, you're just mediocre club sandwich.
Yeah, my solid burger, nothing more, nothing less, solid. I heard a story the other day of somebody, and they didn't give me permission to tell the story, so I won't say their name, but who went to an airport bar and ordered a gin and tonic, and they were like, "Oh, what kind of gin would you like in that? Would you like Hendrix?" And they like, not knowing what Hendrix gin said yes, said yes, and it was like a $30 gin and tonic. It was like 2 shots of Hendrix gin.
I mean, you can get
$30.
You can get most of a bottle of Hendrix for $30.
Exactly. I feel like that's just the way it is in general when it comes to cocktails at restaurants. So I feel like the ingredients of it you could get for nothing in comparison to how much you spend.
But then you can't like be looking across the love of your life across a candlelit table and being like, "Wow, really enjoying this old fashioned that I ordered," forgetting that if you order an old fashioned, they put a quarter of a freaking orange and 6 cherries in it, and I just wasted $40.
Ah, delicious.
Yeah, that's just, I've stopped doing that. But when I first turned 21, I fell for that trap so many freaking times. Thought, "Oh yeah, I'll order an old fashioned. Those are for adults." No, what you're ordering is orange juice with a splash of bourbon in it.
Delicious though.
No, it sucks. It tastes terrible.
Oh, goodness.
You would think it'd be delicious, but it's terrible. Tastes terrible. You know why they do that, right? Why they make them like that?
So you can get a hangover the next day?
No.
In spite of you?
No. So the old fashioned, in the way that it has been popularized in restaurants, was first popularized in the 1960s during the Mad Men era. And during the Mad Men era, if you went to lunch on business and you had a drink, it wasn't supposed to be challenging. It was supposed to be something that you would have, and like it sometimes would be in the morning for breakfast, right? Because you always would drink on business, and so you wanted something that was sweet that would go with a, like you're just getting a sandwich, like something that you should be pairing with a beer, right? And you're like, no, so a lot of the alcohol that was popularized at the time was very sweet, was unchallenging. And if a martini is probably about as challenging as it would have gotten. And if you have a good martini, like it doesn't taste like anything, right? Even if you're dry, even if it's super dry, it tastes mostly like the vermouth, which makes it taste like nothing. And so, so people got accustomed to that, and they call them mid-century cocktails. People got accustomed to that, and then by the time we've sort of improved, I think, a lot of things when it comes to mixology. People make much better drinks now than they used to. But most of these restaurants were opened around then, and so they just, that's just what they make. So, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know there was such a legitimate answer to that question.
No, and it's super popular. The super sweet.
I thought it was just that people have bad taste in cocktails, and they just want them to be as sweet as they are.
Well, that's true also.
Yeah.
But the place in America that drinks the most old fashions, like the old fashioned, the reason why I was so surprised by this is I had never seen someone drink an old fashioned or heard of an old fashioned being drunk by somebody until I was like 21 and on the prowl for the cocktails, right? And
when you were trying to rizz up the biddies,
I was trying to be the Rizzler. At that time, though, you couldn't say Rizzler. That was before the Rizzler had revealed himself. But old fashions are super popular in like Minnesota, and almost exclusively in Minnesota. So old people in Minnesota drink the quarter orange, 3 cherries, old fashions. It's like that or Bloody Marys. That's what they drink out there.
Which Bloody Marys, not good. Personally, I know this is a hot take. This is a take that people don't enjoy, but maybe I've never had a good one.
Yes, I think I mean, if you have a really good Bloody Mary,
I want to say on his face, I do not like tomato juice that much.
Okay, well, obviously you're not going to like it then.
Yeah, and so to me, it just tastes like salty tomato juice.
Sometimes it's actually probably the worst thing you can say about a bad Bloody Mary is it tastes like watered down tomato juice. Like if you have a bad one that doesn't have the right amount of like Worcestershire sauce or Tabasco or anything in it, it just tastes like water because it's vodka. It tastes like a little bit of water inside of some tomato juice. But no, something that's spicy, got like a good body to it, substantial, and then, part of the reason you drink a Bloody Mary is because you get to also have lunch. So, if it's got like some pickled onions and, a couple of celery stalks in there, you're in for a good time. I really think so. I, too, as a child... I thought like a child and acted as a child, but now that I'm a man, I can drink Bloody Marys, so it just takes
because
some time.
Bloody Mary's well-known man drink. Well-known to be something that isn't well-known post-bachelorette party drink. This is something you drink with the boys at the cigar lounge, a Bloody Mary.
That would actually be really funny to order a Bloody Mary at a cigar lounge. The guy's looking at you like, we don't have celery. You're like, well, the celery's a problem? You guys have Worcestershire sauce, right? At least, well, yeah, but that's for totally different reasons.
That's for steaks.
That's for the steaks.
That would be funny if you brought a dozen boys into a cigar lounge and you bought like these enormous thick stogies and you're like, Cosmos for the table.
Yeah. Cosmos aren't bad, though.
I know, it just
that would be funny. I think it'd be funny to order a tiki drink.
There you go.
Yeah, pina coladas, please. I don't hear that blender. Another funny culinary mid-century thing is that everybody was smoking around then, and so a lot of the flavors of the time are a little stronger and weirder. A good example would be A1 steak sauce.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that A1 steak sauce was so popular is that people really couldn't even taste the nuances of a steak. so they added the steak sauce to kind of give it some bite. Funny thing about A1 steak sauce, I would never put it on like a good steak. I freaking love
It's really
A1
good.
steak sauce.
It's really freaking good.
And I feel like there's this weird underground revival that's happening, because if you go to a place like Texas Roadhouse, they'll be like, A1 steak sauce burger. And you're like, hell yeah, dude, that sounds awesome. But that was never a thing before. I remember Mom, like, you'd go to a restaurant that have A1, and she'd be like, oh, that's gross. That's for gross people. And you're like, you're just saying that's for people who smoke and are eating a porterhouse. Right?
Yeah.
But I freaking love A1 steak sauce. It sticks with you, though, is the problem. Like,
Yeah.
if you have some with your lunch,
It's got like that, like almost the acidity and also like a metallic taste
Yeah.
to it. So you feel like you just drank a pint of lead.
It tastes industrial.
Yeah.
It tastes industrial.
And I imagine that it is.
I love it, though. I love it, though. I love, maybe I was born to be a cigarette smoker. Because I miss, one thing, I don't drink coffee anymore because of my gallbladder being removed. I can't really do it. I get sick.
How else are you going to get your energizing chemicals?
Actually, this is what we're talking about. I have been drinking more energy drinks lately.
No, brother.
And honestly,
is it because they're in the cafeteria at work?
Yes, they're free at my job. Here's the thing about it, is that, no joke, coffee, black tea, green tea, all of that, instant nausea. Get instantly nauseous.
Yeah.
Because when you drink caffeine, it constricts your bile system. And so normally when you have a functioning bile system, that's fine. But if you don't have a gallbladder, it just makes you a little nauseous.
Yeah.
And, gets your tummy a little tumbied.
A little rumbly, tumbly.
But, I mean, I think it's probably just because I feel the level of bad that an energy drink just makes you feel baseline that I don't notice
any concrete difference.
Like, I don't feel as bad when I drink a Monster Zero, for example, or
a white Monster Zero,
as I would drinking a cup of coffee. Now, I would much rather drink a cup of coffee. I love coffee. I love black coffee. Just like I love A1 steak sauce, baby. It's just kick my tongue into submission. Just love that stuff. But now I'm drinking, like, I'm keeping it to 1 or 2 a week for like Tuesday and like Friday when you really need it, right? When otherwise you're not going to make it through your day. But I hate that I'm doing it. I hate myself for it.
Listen, you got to talk to somebody who's a longtime user who can justify it, internally in their mind, and maybe they could justify it in yours. People like, I don't know, Joshua Leaphauser, somebody like that.
Well, the thing is about our office, because they're free, everybody freaking drinks them. And it'll be people you would not expect to be drinking them. Yeah. It's like, like 40-year-old white ladies just drinking Bang Energy, which I tried. I only made it like a fourth of the way through a can. I couldn't do it. Yeah. Like again, my system is weird, and it's like, no, I please, just a Monster, please, and maybe a Red Bull, but not Bang Energy. This is meant to be a pre-workout.
Jeez Louise, I can't even imagine drinking a freaking ton of caffeine right before you go in and pump, dude. That'd be insanity.
It's on purpose. Josh does it. Ugh. Yeah, but no, I honestly, I hate myself for it, but there'll be a point in the day when I'm looking at my computer screen. I'm like, if I don't get something in my system right now, I am going to be useless for the rest of the day. And so it's like, well, I can't drink coffee. And I've tried tea, which everybody says, oh, that'll work. Oh, it's good for you.
Oh, I sound like this because it's somebody I don't like. Oh.
I mean, it's usually my mom was telling me that. Yeah. So it doesn't really sound like her. But she doesn't know. If she listens to this, she won't listen to this. She hasn't listened to the last few episodes. She won't listen to this. But if she finds out that I've been drinking a periodic energy drink,
she will contact you.
She will contact me.
Yeah.
So, maybe if we're just like really searching for views and we need another view, we should just insinuate that Shad says something that she should know. At the end of it.
Hey, I don't know if you have you listened to the recent episode. I think you should listen to it. I don't want to tell you, but Shad says some things on there that I think you should know.
I can message her.
Yeah. There you go. Perfect.
All right, so this is a bit of right now.
We got to wrap up.
We're gonna wrap up.
Yeah.
But thanks to all our patrons.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks especially to our highest level of patrons: Sammy Roberts, Luke Robson, Joe Papalardo, and Zach and Amber Strehle. You guys are single-handedly keeping this boy afloat. And I actually had a conversation recently with somebody whose show it works on a show that gets thousands and thousands of views a week, and they don't make as much money because they try to monetize through advertising.
Wow.
So,
Thank you guys.
Thanks to you guys, we can afford a studio and all this nice stuff. So really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
you got to make a boutique product, I suppose. And if you're interested, you're listening to this for the first time. I doubt you've kind of made it this far if you were listening to this for the first time, because most people don't listen this far, even if they're fans. So, but feel free to check us out on Patreon. A lot of content on there. Dylan already mentioned it earlier. I'm going to make a prediction. Okay, I've made this prediction on multiple people's faces, but I'm going to put this on record. There's a lot of murmuring right now, claiming that this won't happen. The Yotes are making it to the playoffs this year. I'm putting my foot down on this so that when it happens, because it's a bit of a long shot, we can pull this out.
Dude, freaking
making it.
Put your money where your mouth is, and bet in the sports book, dude.
So I am ideologically opposed to the sports betting industry. If somebody wants to do a gentleman's wager, I'd be happy to put money on it.
No thanks.
But I'm not paying.
I don't have the house's money.
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of stuff to burn.
I just don't want to bother with giving money to DraftKings and etc. So
you know what? A principled man, but a weak man. You got
to do FanDuel. No, I don't know. I feel like I feel like gambling is kind of making sports worse. It's making it worse to watch sports, and then all sports media now is about gambling.
Yeah.
If you listen to sports podcasts or anything, it's just all about gambling, and so I kind of hate it. I really do.
And I love our listeners.
Aww.
Kissy kissy.